Good morning, my dear students. Today we have to learn the next chapter, sorting materials into groups. All objects around us made up of one or more materials. So, some materials are made up of only one type of things. Then some other materials are made up of the combinations of two or more materials. That is, the objects around us are made up of different types of materials. At times, an object is made up of a single material. An object could also made up of different types of materials, that is many materials. And then again, one material could be used for making many different objects. Sometimes one material is used for making many objects. What decides which material should be used for making any given object? It seems that we need to know more about different materials. So, before that time, you will be learn the properties of materials, properties of different types of materials. In this chapter, you have to learn the properties of different types of materials. The first property of materials are its appearance. So, materials usually look different from each other. Wood looks very different from iron. You know that wood looks very different from iron. Iron appears different from copper and aluminium. Then at the same time, there may be some similarities between iron, copper and aluminium. Once again, wood is entirely different from iron. Then iron is different from aluminium or copper. But some similarities in between them, that is iron, copper and aluminium. When we cut a piece of iron, then we can see that part appear shiny. That means a lustrous appearance. When we cut a piece of copper or aluminium, we can see the lustrous appearance, shiny appearance in that part. So, materials that have such luster are usually metals. We can say that the materials that have such a lustrous appearance, usually that metals, iron, copper, aluminium and gold are examples of metals. So, we can say that metals show lustrous appearance. Metals are a luster. What is meant by luster? What is meant by luster appearance? That is, materials show the shiny appearance. That one is a luster. Luster, the property. That property is known as a luster. So, metals like gold, silver, iron, copper, all these metals show a lustrous appearance. Then some metals often lose their shine and appear dull. because of the action of air and moisture on them. Once again, some metals often dull appearance because of the action of air and moisture on them. We therefore notice this luster only their freshly cut surface. We can see that only luster appearance only in the freshly cut surface. When you visit an ironsmith or a workshop, look out for freshly cut surfaces of metal rods, to see if they have luster. So we can say that the appearance, some metals are a luster appearance, then some are not, dull appearance. So metals show luster appearance and non-metals dull appearance. Then this one is the first property of materials. Then the second property, that one is hardness. Hardness, that is, some materials are hard, that is, some materials are soft. Materials which can be compressed or scratched easily are called soft materials. What is meant by soft materials? That is, materials which can be compressed or scratched easily are called soft materials. Some other materials which are difficult to compress are called hard materials. For example, cotton or sponge is a soft material. An example, cotton or sponge is a soft material, while iron is a hard material. You understood? That is, iron is a hard material because it is difficult, very difficult to compress it. So you can say that iron is a hard material, but sponge is a soft material because we can easily compress it. So the hardness, some materials are hard, some are soft. Some materials are hard and some materials are soft. This one is the second property of materials. The first one is its appearance. Some materials show shiny appearance, some dull appearance. Then some materials are hard, some other materials are soft. In appearance, materials can have different properties like luster, hardness, then be rough or smooth. Can you think the other properties that describes the appearance of material? We can say that some materials have completely disappeared or dissolved in water. Some materials are completely disappeared or dissolved in water. Can you say one example of that type of substance? When we add a spoonful of sugar in a glass of water, when it stir it well, what happens after some time? The sugar or salt disappears in that water. So we can say that these substances are soluble in water. Then when we take a spoonful of chalk powder and put it in a glass of water, stir it well, what happens? The chalk does not dissolve in water. It is insoluble in water. So we can say that some materials are soluble in water and some are insoluble in water. Soluble and some are insoluble in water. This one is the another property of materials. Some are soluble. When we take a spoonful of that atta or any flour, powdered flour, it is insoluble in water. So generally we can say that some materials are soluble in water. Example, that is salt, sugar, all these are soluble in water. Some materials are insoluble in water, not soluble in water. That is examples, that is wood is insoluble, wood powder, that one is sawdust, that one is insoluble in water. Chalk powder, insoluble in water. Then the another property, that is some substances which allow light to pass through them, that are called transparent materials. Then allow light to pass through them are called transparent materials. Some materials are transparent. What is mean by transparent materials? Materials which allow light to pass through them are known as transparent materials. Then some materials which do not allow light to pass through them, that type of substances are known as opaque substance. Opaque materials or opaque substances. Then when we take a colorless paper, that is plastic paper, thin sheet of paper, then we cannot see the other side of that paper. It is not clear. So such a type of papers are known as translucent paper. So what is mean by translucent paper materials? The substances which allow light to pass through them partially are known as translucent. Translucent materials. So materials are three types, that is some materials such as glass are transparent, that means which allow light to pass through them. Such a type of materials are known as transparent materials. Some materials such as wood, then that do not allow light to pass through them. Such type of materials are known as opaque materials. Then some materials that is allow light to pass through them partially are known as translucent materials. So three types: transparent, translucent and opaque materials. Then the another property of materials, some materials or some objects may float on water, but some materials sink in water. Float or sink. When we put a piece of wood a small piece of wood in a glass of water. What happens? That float on the surface of water. But when we take a hard stone, that one is sink in water. So we can say that some materials float on water and some are sink in water. Some materials float in water and some sink in water. This one is the another property. So objects around us, once again, objects around us are made up of a large variety of materials. A given material could be used to make a larger number of objects. It is also possible that an object could be made up of a single material or many different types of materials. Different types of materials have different properties. So, the properties of materials are, some materials are shiny appearance, that is a luster appearance. Some materials are luster, while some others are not, that is dull appearance. Some are rough, some are smooth. Similarly, some materials are hard, whereas some others are soft. Iron is a hard substance, but sponge is a soft substance. Then another property, some materials are soluble in water, whereas some others are insoluble. Then some materials such as glass are transparent. That means allow light to pass through it. But some others such as wood are opaque. That is, do not allow light to pass through them. Then some materials are translucent. Means the materials which allow light to pass through them partially. Materials are grouped together on the basis of similarities and differences in their properties. So what purpose when we grouped these materials? Things are grouped together for convenience and so that is to study their properties. So how can you classify materials? That is, we can classify materials on the basis of similarities and differences in their properties. So things are grouped together for convenience and to study their properties. Thank you.